Krishna 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 Hare Krishna 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 Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
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 Om Surabhyay Namaha
Om Surabhyay Namaha
Om Surabhyay Namaha
Surabhyay Namaha
Om Surabhyay Namaha
Om Surabhyay Namaha
Mukam karoti vasalam tanghum langayate girim Yat kripatamaham bande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Yat kripatamaham bande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Hare Krishna. Welcome to our Bhagavatam class. Continuing to read from Canto number 1, chapter 2, entitled Divinity and Divine Service. And today we're reading text number 12. Touch. Shraddhana Munayo Jnana Vairagya Yuktaya Pashanti Atmani Chatmanam Bhaktya Sruta Grihitaya Tat Shraddhana Munayo Jnana Vairagya Yuktaya Pashantat Pashantyatmani Chatmanam Bhaktya Sruta Grihitaya Tat Shraddhana Munayo Jnana Vairagya Yuktaya Pashantyatmani Chatmanam Bhaktya Sruta Grihitaya Tat Shraddhana Munayo Jnana Vairagya Yuktaya Pashantyatmani Chatmanam Bhaktya Sruta Grihitaya
Tashraddhana Munayo Jnana Vairagya Yuktaya Pashyanti Atmani Chatmanam Bhaktya Sruta Grihitaya Tashraddhana Munayo Jnana Vairagya Yuktaya Pashyanti Atmani Chatmanam Bhaktya Sruta Grihitaya Tat Shraddhana Munayo Jnana Vairagya Shri Shurave Bhaktya Shruta Grahitaya.
Bhaktya Shruta Grihitaya.
Tat
that. Somebody can get the torch inside my room. Shraddhana. Seriously inquisitive. Yeah. Munayaha. Sages. Dhyana. Knowledge. Viragya. Detachment. Yuktaya. Well equipped with. Pashanti. See. Atmani. Within himself. Cha. And. Atmanam. The Paramatma. Bhaktya. In devotional service. Sruta. The Vedas. Grihitaya. Well received. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. The seriously inquisitive student or sage, well equipped with knowledge and detachment, realizes that absolute truth by rendering devotional service in terms of what he has heard from the Vedanta Shruti. Kindly repeat after me. The seriously inquisitive student or sage, well equipped with knowledge and detachment, realizes that absolute truth by rendering devotional service in terms of what he has heard from the Vedanta Shruti. Purport. The absolute truth is realized in full by the process of devotional service to the Lord Vasudeva, or the personality of Godhead, who is the full-fledged absolute truth. Brahman is his transcendental bodily effulgence, and Paramatma is his partial representation. As such, Brahman or Paramatma realization of the absolute truth is but a partial realization. There are 4 different types of human beings: the karmis, the gyanis, the yogis, and the devotees. The karmis are materialistic, whereas the other 3 are transcendental. The first class transcendentalists are the devotees who have realized the Supreme Person. The second class transcendentalists are those who have partially realized the plenary portion of the Absolute Person. And the third class transcendentalists are those who have barely realized the spiritual focus of the Absolute Person. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic literatures, the Supreme Person is realized by devotional service, which is backed by full knowledge and detachment from material existence. We have already discussed the point that devotional service is followed by knowledge and detachment from material association. As Brahman and Paramatma realization are imperfect realizations of the absolute truth, so the means of realizing Brahman and Paramatma, that is, the paths of jnana and yoga are also imperfect means of realizing the absolute truth. Devotional service, which is based on the foreground of full knowledge combined with detachment from material association, and which is fixed by the oral reception of the Vedanta Shruti, is the only perfect method by which the seriously inquisitive student can realize the absolute truth. Devotional service is not, therefore, meant for the less intelligent class of transcendentalists. There are three classes of devotees, namely first, second, and third class. The third class devotees, or the neophytes, who have no knowledge and are not detached from material association, but who are simply attracted by the preliminary process of worshipping the deity in the temple, are called material devotees. Or what is referred to by our acharyas as kanista. Kanista, madhyam, uttam. So material devotees are more attached to material benefit than transcendental profit. Therefore, one has to make definite progress from the position of material devotional service to the second class devotional position. In the second class position, the devotees can see four principles in the devotional line, namely the personality of Godhead, the devotees, the ignorant, and the envious. One has to raise himself at least to the stage of a second-class devotee and thus become eligible to know the absolute truth. And we have two more paragraphs. It's a little long proof work. I hope most of you will be here by the end of the reading. A third-class devotee, therefore, has to receive the instructions of devotional service from the authoritative sources of Bhagavata. The number one Bhagavata is the established personality of devotee, and the other Bhagavatam is the message of Godhead. The third class devotee, therefore, has to go to the personality of devotee in order to learn the instructions of devotional service. Such a personality of devotee is not a professional man who earns his livelihood by the business of Bhagavatam. Such a devotee must be a representative of Shukadeva Goswami. Sutta Goswami, like Sutta Goswami, and must preach the cult of devotional service for the all-around benefit of all people. A neophyte devotee has a very little taste for hearing from the authorities. Such a neophyte devotee makes a show of hearing from the professional man to satisfy his senses. This sort of hearing and chanting has spoiled the whole thing. So one should be very careful about the faulty process. The holy messages of Godhead, as inculcated in the Bhagavad Gita or in the Srimad Bhagavatam, are undoubtedly transcendental subjects. But even though they are so, such transcendental matters are not to be received from the professional man. Confirmed. Who spoils them as a serpent spoils milk simply by the touch of his tongue. Krishna is arranging for all of you a glimpse of what the rainy season is like. A little bit. Last paragraph. A sincere devotee must therefore be prepared to hear the Vedic literature like the Upanishads, Vedanta, and other literatures left by the previous authorities or Goswamis for the benefit of his progress. Without hearing such literatures, one cannot make actual progress. And without hearing and following the instructions, the show devotional service becomes worthless, and therefore a sort of disturbance in the path of devotional service. Unless therefore devotional service is established on the principles of Shruti, Smriti, Purana, or Pancharatra authorities, the make-show devotional service should at once be rejected. An unauthorized devotee should never be recognized as a pure devotee. By assimilation of such messages from Vedic literatures, one can see the all-pervading localized aspect of the personality of Godhead within his own self constantly. This is called samadhi. Hare Krishna. Yeah, it's tough.
Sent outside.
Chased away from the Bhagavatam class. Okay, back home. So reading the verse again here, maybe we'll keep this short. The seriously inquisitive student or sage, well equipped with knowledge and detachment, realizes that absolute truth by rendering devotional service in terms of what he has heard from the Vedanta Shruti. There's a very nice verse that is giving the same message, also in the Bhagavatam. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayati Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Sayat Ahaitukam. Very wonderful instruction whereby it is mentioned same message that is being given here, that simply by engaging in the devotional service of the Lord, ahaituki, causelessly, without any extra endeavor, both knowledge and detachment will come. Many other processes emphasize either cultivation of knowledge or through tapasya becoming detached. These two, they are actually prerequisites. Prerequisites means prerequisite to go back to the spiritual world. One must know, one must have knowledge of the absolute truth. And part of that knowledge, of course, is to become completely detached from this material world, what we were discussing yesterday in the expression, die before you die, isn't it? So what is emphasized here, of course, is hearing from authorities. Prabhupada explains different types of persons, jnanis, karmi, yogis, and devotees, and he also delineates different levels of devotees. So to become a kanistha adhikari or materialistic devotee is a step in the direction of becoming a devotee, but it is still very much motivated. Therefore, as Prabhupada mentioned in the purport, they are referred to as materialistic devotees. But at least they are devotees. And through good association, they will actually rise to the next level of Madhyamadikari. And Prabhupada makes the point here, which is very important. Often he would make it, do not remain on the level of Kanistha Adhikari. It is dangerous to remain on this level of materialistic devotee. Why? Because one can actually give up the process of devotional service. And the two characteristics, of course, of one who is on that platform is that his shraddha, his faith, is very weak. He's not fully convinced. And one of the reasons he's not fully convinced is because he has less knowledge. He has not sufficiently heard. He has not sufficiently meditated upon what he has heard, and he has not sufficiently applied, put into practice the good instructions he has received. So very often the devotees ask how to make advancement in spiritual life. It is actually very simple. We simply hear. I mean, the point being made here also is one has to be seriously inquisitive. One has to be very serious about taking up the process as it is recommended in the Shastra. So one has to be not only serious in his inquisitiveness, but one also has to be serious in applying whatever is being told. And of course, Prabhupada makes reference also to the two Bhagavat. And we recite every day that verse. Nasta prayeshu badrishu nityam Bhagavata sevaya. Nityam Bhagavata sevaya. Every day we should serve simultaneously both the book Bhagavat, the instructions that are contained in the Bhagavatam, by hearing them. One of the ways to serve the Bhagavatam is by hearing. And also serving the person Bhagavat. So in other words, without taking shelter of Vaishnavas, without taking shelter of our acharyas, we cannot by our own endeavor expect to advance in Krishna consciousness. We cannot rise to the higher levels of transcendental realization. So the karmis, I mean, their position is very insecure in that they have no knowledge and they're simply engaged in bodily, materialistic activities for sense gratification. Not knowing it, they're simply increasing their stay in the material world. They're simply increasing their suffering in the material world. So therefore, Prabhupada explains how the other three, Jnani, who is cultivating at least knowledge, he's above the gross bodily platform. He's at least on the platform of the intelligence and the mind, although it is still material, but if he makes progress, he can come to the transcendental platform. So, as we mentioned earlier, this particular chapter, the divinity and devotional service is very, very important for the devotees, because we find all of these wonderful instructions, a series of 5 most prominent verses will be coming up in the next few days, whereby within 5 verses, the Bhagavatam, in a nutshell, so to speak, explains how, from the level of hearing, it all begins with hearing, isn't it? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, from the level of hearing on a regular basis, and there must be a quality to that hearing, then gradually, we will rise to the Hare Krishna. Okay, not okay, but we will rise to the highest platform of transcendental realization. So we are a little bit deceived now. So I don't want to prolong. If there's any question or comment on this, we can take. Otherwise, anything, yes. You have to speak loudly because we have some competition.
Like while doing services with devotees, we know the importance of devotees, that we need to serve with devotees.
While doing service with devotees, we know that we need to serve with devotees, yeah.
To advance in spiritual life. To advance in devotional service, we need to serve with devotees.
To advance in devotional service, we should serve with devotees, yeah.
But at the same time, we tend to see some wrong thing in devotees or fault.
And at the same time, we tend to see wrong things, or yes.
So how to overcome that? Because already contaminated.
I should read you the very instructive, just a few days ago, it was actually the disappearance of Srila Bhakti Saraswati Thakur, and I'm not sure if I can get it here quickly, but there was a very nice quote that was sent addressing directly your point. Let me see here. Anyways, I'll just paraphrase one of the many important instructions given by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, whereby he very clearly instructs that we should absolutely avoid, we should be very cautious in that. Yeah, that tendency is there to see the shortcomings or the faults of others. And he makes the point that actually we should rather be so preoccupied with correcting ourselves. We should be so anxious to actually progress in spiritual life by analyzing our shortcomings, our misgivings, our faults. And if we take that kind of approach, then we will not have time to find faults in others. Basically, he was explaining that he also was adding to that very nice instruction that who are we to understand or even, let's say, to want to correct others. That is the business of Guru and Krishna. Krishna knows the condition and the situation for everyone, and our perception of what may be right or wrong will tend to be faulty, limited, because who are we to understand? We will often be misjudging, and so therefore, unless one is, it is the business or responsibility of Guru, for example, to correct disciples. And that's part of his duty to actually help them progress or advance in spiritual life. That means that in principle, we as devotees should simply become very convinced and accept those instructions given by our acharyas, especially this particular instruction, which is, I'm sure, similar or the same as given by other acharyas also, that as soon as we develop or maintain this kind of find a faulting mentality, unless we are, for example, if somebody is a temple president, then he may have to explain to someone that he is not doing something properly, misbehaving, whatever it may be. So, in other words, that is only for those who are designated to correct a particular situation when need be. It is not at all the duty or responsibility of the rank and file devotees. So in other words, we should just become clear and convinced on this point and just stop looking negatively or being disturbed by what others may be doing wrong. At the same time, of course, if we're in a situation where someone is affecting negatively, let's say, the lives of others, especially of other devotees or anyone for that matter, then we should not directly approach that individual, but we should bring it up to some authority who can possibly correct the situation. But in general, we should mainly focus and be concerned about our own faults. And if we do that properly, seriously, we will not have time to actually think about correcting others. Let us correct our own shortcomings and then leave the rest to Krishna or to persons who are authorized to represent Krishna. Any other? Yes.
As you just mentioned, but when we are in a role to correct others, but the other devotees, they may or may not take positively. So in that case, what we should do, because we get discouragement. At the same time, from the top they say that you only have to correct, nobody else can correct it.
Well, I mean, Prabhupada gives the example of his own father, who had that kind of very nice attitude of explaining to Abhay Saran, don't mind, now I have to, have to correct you. So there's a manner in which one can correct, and of course, there is no guarantee. I mean, it depends very much on the person who is being corrected. If one is very averse to that, well, it may be an indication that generally we correct persons, for example, in a temple situation who are serving, and that's part of a criteria that to be living in a temple situation, one has to abide by the basic, ashram rules and regulations. And if some individuals are not able to receive good instructions, then it may be an indication that they cannot or should not live in that kind of situation. But that element is always there. I mean, one should be as tactful as possible and cautious in correcting individuals. If one is properly disposed, one should be able to accept such correction. And if not, well, as I mentioned, this may be an indication that that person is not in his right place. Not in his right place.
In that case, will we get Vaishnava Aparadh because he is chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra like a Vaishnava also?
No, the idea is that in order for someone to, you mean to correct someone or to tell someone not to stay?
The one who is taking correction is not able to take in right spirit.
No. One who is in that position, it is part of his duty or responsibility to correct when there is need for correction. So it's part of your service to do that. If that person is not taking it properly, you don't get reaction to that. Rather, that person gets reaction for not being humble enough to be corrected. So already quite a few are wet. We want to avoid, so we'll have to end here for now. Jai Transcendental Bhagavatam ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. It closes.